Canterbury Trails Farm. Today we are going to be pressure canning pork and beans. I have put my beans to soak overnight. I'm not going to use measurements in this recipe because I don't know how much you want to can. I used probably maybe 3 pounds of beans. I like to do a great big batch at once so I can can as much as I can and then put it on the shelves and it lasts for a while. I'm going to be adding cans of diced tomatoes, undrained. I'm just putting the whole cans in there. And I'm going to be adding a couple cans of tomato sauce. I also will be adding brown sugar, yellow mustard, and some dried diced onion. Just sort of wing it to taste. I make the same sort of baked beans, pork and beans. I don't really deviate. It's the pork and bean taste. So the tomato sauce, the diced tomatoes, brown sugar. I'm probably going to add some chopped up jalapenos just for a little bit of heat. My family likes them a little bit spicy. I need to cook for a while, maybe 20 minutes or so. And during that time, I'll be getting everything else ready. So let me get this set up so you can watch what I'm doing in the pot. And again, like I said, it's to your family's taste, how much of what you use. I always want to make sure I have enough sauce to pour over the beans so the beans don't come out dry. And so sometimes if it looks like I'm not going to have enough in my pot, I'll make a little extra with a can of tomato sauce and the mustard and the brown sugar, and I'll just make that up in another pan to have a little bit extra to pour over the tops. I have a, what is this kettle? 16 quart kettle. And I also have a 2-ounce jar of dried minced onion. I added one 15-ounce jar of tomatoes so far, and I'm adding my second can of tomato sauce. And I added 1 can of water. That. And now it's 2 cans of water here. And I'm gonna put my burner on low. With half a cup of brown sugar. And I'm gonna start with 1/4 cup of mustard. The other thing I'll do while my beans are simmering is I'm going to cut bacon into 1-inch pieces. I like to put about 2 or 3 pieces of bacon in each jar, sort of like layering them in there. I'm probably going to add about 1/4 cup of chopped jalapenos. Go ahead and add another half cup brown sugar, so that'll bring it up to a full cup. A lot of times I go by smell when I'm mixing these up. When I get enough sugar in it, the tanginess will turn more like a baked bean smell, and then I'll know that I sort of have that brown sugar. Also, my color will start turning from more red to a sort of a brownish color. Okay, I'm going to add another can of tomato sauce. And I'm going to add another can of water. The same can that the tomato sauce came in, that way you're getting all your tomato sauce because you're rinsing it out, sort of. Okay, I'm also going to add another 1/4 cup of prepared mustard, yellow mustard. See an increase in my sauce, where I want it to be here. Like I said, at this point you want to start going by your preferences. I just added another cup of brown sugar. At this point, I'm going to let it simmer for a few minutes to try to get the juices to start mixing, so I have a better idea of what I need to adjust flavor-wise. If I need more mustard. I know I don't need any more jalapenos, and the onion level smells and looks good. You can sort of tell by the mixture. Everyone's opened a can of pork and beans. You know good pork and beans versus, you know, crappy pork and beans. Crappy pork and beans are just all runny. Like I'll have and I don't even know if it's mostly just a tomato-based sauce. You don't even hardly taste anything else but tomato, and it's got some beans floating around it, and there might be a chunk of pork fat. The better ones, I'm trying to think like Bush's baked beans, or have a thicker molasses type sauce. You could put molasses in here if you want. I prefer the brown sugar. Like I said, when I open my can, I usually will add other stuff to it while I'm cooking, just because I do. So I don't know how you prefer it. But so what I'm gonna do is I've got it where I think it's good, but I want to see how much sauce ends up, you know, when it bakes down here a little bit, if I need to add more to the beans, or if I just want to put some in a pan to have some extra, which is what I usually will end up doing, is making like a tomato sauce, water, brown sugar, and mustard sort of mixture in a saucepan, and then I have extra to pour over the beans as I'm putting them in the jars. So I'm just going to put this lid on my beans, and I'm going to clean up some stuff here and let these cook for about 10 minutes, and then I'll come back and check on them and see where we're at flavor-wise, and we'll adjust them. For 10 minutes I'll let it simmer. In the meantime, I got my the 4-quart jars. I have to use a smaller canner because I have a flat top glass stove, so I can do 4 quarts at one time. So I put my quart, I'm using my canner just as a kettle basically, and filled it up with water. Obviously that water will not be staying in there, I'll be draining it off. But I put my 4-quart jars in there so they can get to sterilizing. I got some extra sauce mixed up over here that I just have simmering. I got my bacon out, I'm fixing to cut it. And I'm just going to put the lid back on here and let these simmer for another 10 minutes while I continue doing the things I'm going to do. I'm also fixing to put some my jar lids in some water to simmer as well. And then we'll be back. My beans have simmered, and I think they are ready to go in. I have cut up some bacon. If you don't grow and process your own pork, and you don't know about bacon ends, they're a great economical thing to look into. I usually get a 3 to 4 pound pack of bacon ends for about $8.99. It's a huge savings. If you've ever bought bacon in the store, you get like maybe 6 pieces for $8. With the size of my family, I would need like 3 or 4 packs of that, and that just makes that meal not doable. For $8.99, I get a good deal of actual bacon. It's not cut in the perfect slices. It's sort of like the remnants, thick, nice white fat. So like I like to separate out the nice pieces of bacon that are, you know, pretty much sliced, and I'll use those to serve as meat. And then I'll take out the fat and the irregular pieces that are like chunks, and save those for things like making beans or other casseroles and things. So I've got my bacon cut up. So my bacon's ready to go. My beans are ready to go. I'm fixing to take my quart jars out of my kettle and my canner and pour out some of that water, so I just have the 2 to 3 inches that I need. I have my extra sauce simmering, and I have my jar lids simmering. So I'm going to prepare my canner, and I have a metal-to-metal all-American canner, so it does not have a gasket, but it does require a little bit of oil around it. So I'm going to get all that water out of it. I'm going to get my oil on it. I've already ran my vent cleaner through my vent. If you have this kind, I always clean my vent out. And I have all my supplies out and ready to go. Okay, we're back. I got my jars out, and I got them ready to put the beans in. I'm going to put about 2 cups of beans per jar. This is good to use a slotted spoon to get, you know, you're getting more beans. I like to put like a cup or so in there, and then throw a few pieces of bacon in. Right now I'm going to need to thin that out. I want to take a clean rag and I'm going to dip it in boiling water. I'm going to clean my rims off. This is just so they're nice and clean. You don't want anything on there that could interfere with your seal in your canner. Get my lid lifter. It's down there. And I'm going to get my rings. Now I'm going to put my jars into the canner. Minutes. I'm moving my sauce over here because I'm going to add those back into the beans since I used a lot of it. I'm going to heat up my canner for 7 minutes and let it vent steam. Canner's been blowing steam for 7 minutes. I'm going to put my weight on now, 10 pounds, and wait for it to reach the pressure. And then I'm going to start adjusting my heat. I want 1 to 4 jiggles of the weight per minute. So it's just one of those things you don't want to leave the kitchen. It's not water bath canning where everything just sort of stays the same rapid boil. This you really have to watch your pressure. Okay, my canner has just hit 10 pounds. It's going to start jiggling here. So I've set the timer for 75 minutes. Go. 1. To start with, I usually have to turn it way down, sometimes completely off for a couple seconds, and then turn it back to low. Turn it up a little bit, turn it low, turn it up a little bit, turn it low. Got 3 now. The important thing is not to become complacent. Right at first you might think, oh, I got it. So I've only had 3 jiggles and that was 1 minute. But now I might have turned it down too low. Now I might not get any jiggles this next minute. Back and forth until you get everything set just right. Unless you totally know your stove and it reacts the same way for you every time. Pressure's good at 10 pounds. Jiggles seem to be regulating and getting a little bit more standard there. It's okay to have 1 jiggle. You don't want any more than 4. Hi, my 75 minutes is done and I got my canner lid off. I moved 75 minutes plus another 30 minutes for my canner to actually go back to 0. So I'm fixing to take my jars out and then I'm going to get the second batch going. This has been Angie from Canterbury Trails Farm. Thank you for joining us. Bye.